Okay, so I'm going to be refuting Minna's workability and disadvantages of adopting Prop 63 at a national level. So she started off by saying that there are going to be multiple issues with compliance and loopholes and enforcement would be inadequate. I'd first like to start off with her kind of anecdotal response with the bumper sticker. She said that something to the effect that if you want our guns, you'll have to pry it from our cold, dead hands. But the reality is, I think a lot of people don't go that far in true reality. They like to hide behind that. But in reality, there are certain situations where, in the case of Los Angeles' gun buyback program, there were 791 firearms collected on one Saturday in Los Angeles' annual gun buyback event, according to a statement from LA Mayor Garrett Garcetti. And that's a slight uptick from 746 like last year. Now, the thing is, if they actually are wanting to pry them from their cold dead hands, it's sure not going that way because they're giving them up just for cash or for gift cards or whatever the individual gun buyback event may have. So the reality is that a lot of citizens aren't that committed to that mindset that it's going to take death to get their guns away. And to further back up that point, there was an Oakland-San Francisco gun buyback program that took more than 600 firearms off the street when participants were given $200 for each gun, and that was any gun, no questions asked. So that kind of goes on to prove the point that people don't stand by those hardcore morals that strongly. And even to the degree that during that same buyback event, so many people came to give the guns away or in exchange for the money that they ran out of gift cards. They ran out of money to exchange for them. And yet people still donated after that. They were just wanting to get rid of these guns. And that really goes to show that there is not a strong connection with holding on to it to your dying breath. That it's more so that it's just something that people have, and maybe ultimately they might feel guilty about having it and they want to get rid of it. Now I'd like to move on to the point that she was making that criminals break laws. Now that might be true that hardcore criminals do break laws, but the reality is they might not break them that well, because in a recent report from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, between 1994 and 2012, a total of 2,431,000 federal firearm applications were denied. And breaking that total down, 1.1 million of those applications were denied because the applicants had a felony, 314,000 because the applicants had a criminal history of domestic violence, and 145 due to the applicant's status as a fugitive from justice. Now, they might be breaking the laws, but they're also lying on the background checks themselves. And that's not the smartest way to go about this, and because of that, the background checks in place will be capturing and arresting a lot of people who are attempting to illegally purchase guns. Now that might be true that some people will be stealing guns, but a lot of people who would have otherwise just took the guns from the store, bought them fine, and then used them for potentially heinous activity were just caught just because you had background checks in place. And this would still go for ammunition sales, that if anyone with any criminal activity on their record would be arrested to begin with. And that, right off the bat, eliminates so much violence that would potentially be occurring. Further, she went on to say that there are loopholes in place, and that a lot of people would be making modifications to these weapons. But the thing is, there is gun laws already in effect that prevent modification to ammunition. So just because they buy something legally and then make it illegal by filing off a rivet, like Minna had stated, they're still committing illegal activity. And from the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, having adequate laws and punishments does deter criminals. And this is from the behavioral science investigation at Penn State Law. And this stated that criminal law in itself does not deter, but having a justice system that imposes liability for breaking those laws does deter criminals or would-be criminals. So by funding the ATF, you empower the government to punish these people who are attempting to break these laws. And in doing so, you have a greater deterrence of committing acts such as filing away rivets. And finally,
I gotta cut you off here at 5 minutes,
Okay.
so you've already a minute and 12 seconds over.